Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Skills Recharge live podcast. Today, I'm super excited to bring to you my Scrum coach, my Scrum teacher, Bonsy Yelsangi. Bonsy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It's great to be
Oh,
here.
awesome. So, we're having a book chat today about Bonsy's new book that's not showing, but you can see it on her screen just as well. But we're talking about her book today. Bonsy, tell everyone about yourself and everything.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Bonsy Yelsangi. I'm a certified Scrum trainer and an agile coach. Past many years, I've been helping many individuals and teams implement the Scrum framework and helping them learn how to work cohesively together, deliver value frequently. I have worked in industries where it was all about private wealth management, media groups, airplanes, aeronautics, schools. So yeah, worked in a lot of different industries, helped them implement Scrum.
Awesome. So, Bonsy, let's get into the questions. Let's just start with the basic of the basics. What is Scrum?
Okay, Scrum is a very simple framework. It is a set of guidelines that will help teams organize their work. It's very simple way of making things transparent, knowing who's working on what, and the whole team together tries to deliver value frequently. It helps us inspect, ask for feedback, and then adapt based on what are the feedback we are receiving, what is absolutely valuable for our customers.
Okay, I love it. So, what inspired you to write a book beyond your classroom teachings? Because you're teaching almost every weekend, seems like. So, where did this come from?
Honestly, there was no plan for it. So my co-author, Valerio Zanini, he's also a certified Scrum trainer. And, we trainers, we get together frequently just to, talk about how's it going, what's happening in the Scrum world, and how are the classes going, what kind of questions are you getting, how are you answering that. And whenever we met, we would always have, okay, what is the most common question in your class? Or how do you, get this? And we started discussing and we realized that we have these same questions repeatedly being asked in different classes, and that's that it gave the idea that if our students are having these questions, definitely there are more people out there who have the same questions. So how do we help them? And that's how we decided, why don't we write a book? And something very simple, question answers. If that was the question, what would be our answer?
I love it. So, who's going to benefit from the book beyond those that have been your students?
I think anybody who wants to implement the Scrum framework. It is, let's say you've been a practitioner for Scrum and now you want to help your teams. You know the advantages of Scrum, but you want to introduce that in your organization, in your teams, in your department. So how would you start? Where would you start from? What are these jargons? How would you teach them? So people who've already been using Scrum, people who are planning to use it, people who are planning to interview for Scrum roles. So it's for everyone who has heard about the word Scrum.
I totally agree with you. It's a great nugget because, like you said, it's question, then the answer, and it's detailed. It's not like it's not surface. You go into detail and examples, and I think it can be used for teams and things of that. So, before we get into all that, break down how the book is structured a little bit more.
Right. So first we have a really good thing, that is Jeff Sutherland, the co-founder of Scrum. He gave us an interview. So we have printed the whole interview in the book. So that was really nice. From his point of view, how Scrum has changed, how are his clients using Scrum, what are the changes he's seen in the last 25 years. So that is something really like a good bonus for all our readers. And then we've broken down into 50 questions. That, okay, if that's the question, this is our answer. So, and in that answer, it's not only just we talking, but it's also a lot of templates we have provided, as well as real world scenarios that we've gone through as coaches and trainers. That, okay, how did we help our students, or how did we help our teammates when they had these questions? So interview plus question answers, a lot of templates, a lot of tips and techniques in there.
Okay, so you gave us like there's theory for choosing. What was it? I know you said that you shared that it was just based off the feedback from your students. Was there a theory behind you choosing those 50 practical tips that you shared in the book?
So we first started, Valerio and I, we started, writing down. We just started listing, okay, what are the questions that we get, and so then we started, every time a class would be conducted, I would at the end of the class, I would write down that, okay, these were the 3 questions or 5 questions that were repeated, and then we both started writing them together. We collated everything. And then we realized, okay, so 25 is too less. That's too less. There are a lot of other questions. And then we didn't want to go beyond 50. Like, frankly, the attention span and who even has the time to read more than that. So I was like, okay, let's just stick to 50. And that's how we came up with that number.
I love it. So how can your book be used for team building?
For our teams, it's how do you help them work cohesively? How do we help them, engage with one another more during retrospective, for example? How do I engage my team members? What if they're not coming to a consensus? What tips can I use? What techniques can I implement using the Scrum framework? Or as a Scrum Master, how do I help my teams give an update to one another? How do I bring transparency? So our book will help, with that, okay, these are the questions you may have. These are some things you can try with your team.
For sure. Like, I totally see this being something that you can make it a weekly, like a month project. You can take one or a project they're working on and just literally like, question 17 talks about, can I invite my stakeholders to the backlog refinement session and give the breakdown of it? Yeah.
Right. It is, frankly, these are such common questions. So do you want your stakeholder in there? I honestly, as a Scrum Master, would experiment. Try it in one of your refinement sessions and see how it goes. In my experience, sometimes it goes well, sometimes not so well, because when a stakeholder is in a meeting, team members may not feel very comfortable, opening up with the questions they may have or the details they need or things they want to discuss amongst themselves. So usually it's the product owner who acts as a liaison between the stakeholders and the team. So the product owner would be the one to, bring all that information. But there are teams who invite their stakeholders. And I have seen some good results as well. So we've put all of these experiences in the book, that how can it be helpful? Sometimes you should try this, sometimes try that, see what works best for your team.
I love it. I love it. I think everyone who wants to practice Scrum or wants to master Scrum, I should say, this is a great resource for them. Okay, Bonsy, we're in the middle of like the Great Resignation. So many people are transitioning into different industries, and Scrum, the need to know Scrum is on the rise for just a lot of people, right? So how can your book be used to prepare for interviews?
Because of the whole question answer format, readers will find that there are questions that you can expect at the interview. For example, let's say the interviewer wants to know, what will you do when your product owner is on vacation? How would you as a Scrum Master help your team? So now that's the answer we've put in there, that, okay, as a product owner, obviously they will go on leave. Same for Scrum Masters. Why only product owners? Even Scrum Masters, when they are on vacation, what happens then? How should the team, move forward? Who would act as a Scrum Master? So these are some things we want the team or the readers to know about it. Let's say another question the interviewer wants to know. So, let's say you don't have any engagement from your stakeholders during sprint review. How would you help them come to the review, or how would you help them understand the importance of giving feedback frequently to the team? So these are some questions that you can expect at the interview. Or the most famous one is, what will you do as a Scrum Master the whole day? The product owner does this, the developers do this. So what will you do then the whole day? What are your tasks? So these are some questions that they can expect at the interview, and we have them in the book.
Yes, for sure. This is awesome. I know we talked about using the book in team meetings and things of that nature, but how else can the readers use your book daily or weekly as a professional development tool?
I think you can think of this book as a toolbox of techniques, tips, things that worked for us, things that didn't work for us. So as Scrum Masters, even we've had a fair share of failures that, okay, I tried this technique and it didn't really go well, so I tried something else. So I want the readers to know that it's not that every technique will work, every tip is useful. You have to keep experimenting, but at least you have this toolbox now that if this doesn't work, let me try this. If this is the question, this is what I should try. And you want to help your teams learn the why, that why is Scrum helpful? What is this framework all about?
For sure. So I also want to share, and this just came to me just listening to you and just as I continue to reflect on my own experience as a mastering Scrum. If you're unsure if you want to become a Scrum Master, this is a good book to read beforehand. Like if you're not sure if Scrum's for you, or if you trying to make sure you understand Scrum versus project management and the differences and things of that nature, and you want a practical experience of practical scenarios, this is a great resource. I think so. So yeah.
Thank you for that, Michele. It really helped.
No, you're welcome. Yeah, for sure. Bonsy, do you have any other thoughts that you would like to share with those that are watching us?
Just one thing, that this book will help you find the gap that between knowing Scrum and mastering Scrum. So, many of us, we know Scrum, but how do I teach my teams? How do I motivate them to use this framework? What are some advantages that they can see and experience? So this book will help you answer these questions and also give you the tips and techniques or the answers that your team is always asking about Scrum, that why should we do this? Or why do we have to meet every day at the daily Scrum? Why can't I just put it in the chat? Or why can't I just email my team members? So these commonly asked questions, now this book will help you answer them.
For sure. Well, Bonsy, thanks for joining me today. And I wish you continued success in all your endeavors with this book. And if you are interested in making the investment in the book, Bonsy, tell them how they can purchase the book.
We have these books on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And, Michele, I'm happy to share a discounted code with you, which you can, share it with the people who are watching us. So thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so when I add the show notes, I'll include your discount link for those that watch today. Okay, awesome.
Thank you for that.
Well, thank you for joining us. Thanks, Bonsy, for joining the Skills Recharge conversation, and continue to keep your stride while keeping your skills recharged, competitive, and hire ready. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.